Hello, and welcome everyone. This is a training for renewing your annual Child and Adult Care Food Program application in WINS, our online application and claim system. This training is meant to give you a demonstration of completing the renewal in WINS and some tips about the system. At the end of the presentation, my goals for you are to feel comfortable starting the application renewal, know what parts of the application must be completed, and to know who to ask for questions and where to find answers. You should be able to pause the presentation at any point to refer to your own WINS account or rewatch anything you've missed. To pause the presentation, click the button in the middle at the bottom of the page. To rewind, click the button to the left of the pause button. It's important to keep in mind that everyone who signs into WINS must have their own account. Only sponsor administrators for an organization can create or deactivate accounts. Administrators can also decide the level of access a user has within the account. If you need help creating these new accounts, please access the training video at the web address on this page. I'll also point out where to find this from our website. If your organization's sponsor administrator is leaving, have him or her set up another sponsor administrator for the organization. If it's too late and they've already left, be sure to contact your program specialist. To get into WINS, I'm going to start from our main CICFP website. In the upper left corner, you'll see the word WINS. I'm going to click on that. If we scroll down, you can see that there are many other training videos posted about the system for your reference. These cover topics like navigating the system and submitting claims. The video about adding user accounts is also posted on this page. But for now, I'm going to click the blue WINS button off to the right side. This takes me to the login screen. If you have any trouble remembering your username or password, you can click on these links at the bottom of the login. But for now, I remember my login, so I'm going to put that in now. From the home page, I want to point out a couple of things. First is the 6-digit number next to my sponsor name. This is my WINS number. Each sponsor is assigned a unique 6-digit WINS number. It has taken the place of our agreement numbers. Down here, you'll see my assigned program specialist. If I want to contact her directly, I can just click on the name. This will open up an email to send directly to my program specialist. It may have been about a year since you've last navigated through the WINS application. So before we begin, let's review some common buttons that we'll be using throughout the application renewal. First, we have the Renew button. We will use this to start the application for the fiscal year 2016. It may say different things depending on the part that we're in, such as Renew Budget or Renew Management Plan. Next, we have the Add button. We will use this in a couple of parts of the application, like starting a meal schedule. Then we have the Edit button. This button will allow you to get into the application wizard and make changes. After that, we have the Delete or Deactivate button. This will remove a revised application or a staff member. You'll see the Submit button. When a part of the application is ready for review from your program specialist, hit Submit. Your specialist will receive a notification that the part is ready for review. Then we have the View button. This button will allow you to see the application in the view mode, but not make any edits. This will be important once the application has been approved. You can click the View button to see the application, but not make any changes. And last, we have the Revise button. This button would be used after the application has been approved, but you need to make changes to it. It can be used anytime during the fiscal year to update the information. But remember, after the application has been revised, it must be submitted for approval. I think that you'll find a lot of parts within WINS are set up very similarly. You'll likely find that once you get the hang of these buttons, it will be easier to navigate through the system. Now let's get back to WINS. Here on the left side, we can see the sponsor staff section. Staff come and go from your centers all the time, but we ask that you keep the sponsor staff section as updated as possible. with phone number and email addresses for each person listed. This can be done anytime throughout the year without having to go through the whole application. I can see that Ann Wilson does not have an email address or phone number attached to her profile. To update it, I'm going to click the Edit button under Sponsor Staff. To add the email address and phone number, I'm going to click the Edit button next to Ann's name. This profile page will open up, and I can type in her email address and press Save. And press Save. Then I'll click the Add in the phone number box. I can add her phone number here. I'll add her office number, and I'll type it in. And I'll click Save. Now her information has been updated and everything is included, so I'm going to click Close. John Doe has left my organization, so I'm going to click the X next to his name and deactivate him. Yes, I want to deactivate. But I've added a new supervisor to replace John Doe. To add her to the system, I'm going to click on this Add button off to the right. I'll type in her name, her gender, her email address, her title, she's a supervisor, and her phone number. The phone type is office. Now that this looks correct, I'm going to click Save. This looks good, so I'll hit Close. And I have no more changes to make to my sponsor staff, so I'll click Cancel. Next, we're going to move on to the DUNS number. During the annual training, we requested that you add your DUNS address. This was the address that was used when registering for a DUNS number for the organization. If you're not sure what address you've used, go to the Duns and Bradstreet website listed on this slide. Once I know the address I've used to register the DUNS number, I'm going to add it in here. To add the address, I'm going to click on the Edit button. Then, next to Official DUNS Address, I'm going to click on the Add button. The address that I use is the same as our main office, so I'm going to click Same as Existing. Yep, I already have them here in the system, so I'm going to click on the blue check mark to select the address. That looks correct, so I'm going to click Save. If you end up typing in the address, be sure to add the last 4 numbers of the zip code. This is very important for our reporting purposes. Okay, I'll hit Save. And I have both the number and the address, so I'm going to hit Save again. One last tip I want to talk about before we get into the application is uploading documents. Documents you may want to upload for your sponsor profile include licenses, vendor agreements, informal bids, and maybe a list of board of directors. To upload a document to your WINS account, click on the word Documents in the middle of the blue ribbon. I've already created a file to help me keep all of my files organized for this fiscal year, but if I wanted to create a new one, I would just hit Create a New Folder. For now, I'm just going to click on the folder, and I'm going to click Add File to the current folder. I'll name what I'm going to upload. So I'm going to upload the vendor agreement, and I'm going to click this Browse button to search my computer. Here I found the document on my computer, so I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to click Open, and then I'll click Save. In this box, you can either view the document you've uploaded by clicking on the glasses or the View button, or you can delete the document by clicking on the X or the Delete button. I'm going to click Close at the bottom. Now that we've covered these various parts of the WINS homepage, let's move on to the application. For single site sponsors, there are 4 parts of the application: the sponsor application, the budget, the site application, and the site calendar. For multiple site sponsors, you'll do a site application and calendar for each site that participates. You'll also do a management plan, and you have the option of using the shared calendar. The shared calendar can be a very useful tool, but I'll cover that and the management plan in a separate video, specifically for sponsors with multiple sites. Let's start with the sponsor application. To get to the sponsor application, I'm going to click on the Applications tab in this row of tabs. Off to the right, I can see this Renew Application button. I'm going to click on that. The first page of the wizard, I'm going to click on Child Care Program and select Next. You'll find that a lot of the information has rolled over from last year. So I'm just going to go through and double check the information and update it as needed. If I have anything to update, when I click the Next button, it will save any of the updates that I've made to that page. My addresses are still correct, so I'm just going to click Next. However, I can see that a couple of my contacts are now blank. That's because I deleted John Doe from my sponsor staff list. If I click this drop-down box, I can select Susan Johnson, my new supervisor. She also helps me with the claims. If I need to add anyone, I can just click this Manage Staff button and add a new staff member. Okay, I'm going to click Next to save this information. My civil rights are still correct, so I'm going to click Next. Here, I'm a nonprofit organization, so I have an audit section. Each year, I need to disclose if my organization has spent $500,000 in federal funds. My answer is no. If your organization does spend more than $500,000 in federal funds, be sure to have your A-133 ready to send to OSPI. And I'm going to click Next. This information is still correct, so I'm going to click Next. My financial viability information is also still correct and current, so I'm going to click Next. My administrative answers are still correct and accurate, so I'm going to click Next. Here we can see that my institution attended required training did not roll over. Every year I need to disclose when I attended the annual training. I've attended it, so I'm going to click Yes. And I attended it on August 4th. Now I'm going to click Next to save that information. And my meal requirements are still correct, so I'm going to click Next. I've actually added another board member, so I'm going to add that board member to this list. To do that, I'm going to click Add. And I'm going to click Select Board Member to select the new board member. Susan Johnson is my new board member, so I can just click the blue check mark next to her name. If I needed to add somebody new, I could click the Add button. Here we can see Susan listed. Her area of expertise is education. And I'm going to click Save. Now my board list is updated, so I'm going to click Next to save this. I've actually decided to keep our current and prior year records at a different site, so I'm going to update this information. We're going to keep it at our main office now. So I'll type that in, and then I will click Change Address to change the address that we keep our records. And I know that the address is already in our system, so I'm going to click Same as Existing. Here we see these addresses again, and I can click the blue check mark to select it. That looks correct, so I'll click Save. I'll do the same thing to prior year's records. Change address, same as existing, and click the blue check mark. Save. Perfect. Now this information is updated, and I'm going to click Next to save it. Here we can see that I don't have any application errors or parts to go back to add information. So I'm going to go ahead and click Cancel and move on to a new section. Close Wizard. Next, I'm going to go to the Budget section. To get to the Budget section, I'm going to click on the Budgets tab in this top row of tabs. Here you can see the Renew Budget button. I'm going to click Renew Budget. You can see that a lot of the information has rolled over from last year. I'm going to review the information and update it as needed. Under Claiming Information, your budget would give you an actual dollar amount because you are a real organization. The amount provided is the total received in reimbursements from October 2014 to whenever you decide to renew the budget. It will not capture a full year because you've likely not been paid for September or August of 2015. But it can be a nice recap of the reimbursement. Down here, under Revenue, the CICFP revenue is referring to the amount of reimbursement you expect to receive this upcoming year. All other revenue is referring to any other revenue that the center receives. So that will likely come from tuition, childcare subsidies, grants, maybe fundraisers, anything else that comes into the center. In this scenario, I'm expecting the participation to be pretty similar to last year. So my revenue will be about the same, and I won't make any changes. My menus have not changed, and food costs haven't risen much, so I'm going to keep these about the same as well. Next, we have food service administrative expenses. These will be expenses incurred from completing the study month, adding up meal counts, submitting the claim, and for multi-site sponsors, completing monitoring visits. I'm going to estimate that the cost of labor time to do these tasks will be about $2,000. The amount of supplies to keep all my records in order is going to be about $200. And the transportation to go from site to site is going to be about $100. Down here we see a question asking if we will use CICFP meal reimbursement for administrative expenses. Up here I can see that I'm estimating about $55,000 in CICFP reimbursement. But my estimated cost of just operating the food service is going to be much higher than that. So I won't have any reimbursement to use to cover these administrative expenses. So my answer is still going to be no. Okay, these numbers look correct, so I'm going to click Save. Perfect. Now we're going to move on to the site application and calendar. To get to the site application and calendar, I'm going to click on the Sites tab. To get to the renewal applications, I'm going to go up to this upper right-hand corner, and under Open Program Year, I'm going to click 2015 to 2016. I've deleted one of my sites, so now only one shows up. To get into the site, I'm going to click the blue check mark. To get into the application, I'm going to click the Site Applications tab. And then we'll see this familiar Renew Application button. I'm going to click on that. Again, I'm going to click on Child Care Program and select Next. Just like in the last application, much of the information has rolled over from last year. So I'm going to go through and review it and update it as needed. My address has not changed, so I'm going to click Next. However, my site contact has changed. So I'm going to click Manage Staff. Mary Brown does not work for me anymore, so I'm going to click Deactivate. Yes, Deactivate. Now I'm going to click Add to add my new director. His name is Thomas Davis. Male. His email address. His title. And of course, his phone number. And this is his office phone. Once I've entered all that, I'm going to click Save. This information looks correct, so I'm going to click Close. and cancel. Now Thomas should be in this drop-down box. There he is. Thomas is my site contact, so I'll click Next to save this. We can also see that the racial and ethnic information has not rolled over. Like we mentioned in our annual training, racial and ethnic data collection does not need to coincide with your study month. You can report the data from your site at any time while you're completing this WINS renewal. So I'm going to go ahead and enter my numbers. And I'm going to click Save to save these, or Next to save these numbers. I'm still a nonprofit, so I'm going to click Next. My license has not changed, so I'm going to click Next. The age of enrolled and the participants on our program has not changed either, so I'm going to click Next. Next, we get to services provided. In this section, I'm a licensed facility that has children ages 1 month to 12 years. So that includes school-age children that come after school. I'm only going to select child care services. If I had a school-age license and I only had school-age children, I would only select outside school hours. If I participated in the after-school at-risk program only, or with my child care services, I would click Yes to at-risk after-school meals, and I would complete this information that pops open. But in my hypothetical situation, I only provide child care services, so that's the only thing I'm going to select. So I'm going to click Next. I don't have any application errors, so I can go ahead and click Cancel and move on to a new part of the application. Next, we're going to move on to the site calendar. To get there, I'm going to click on the Site Calendars tab. Here we see that Add button. I'm going to click Add to add a new site calendar. In this wizard, I'm going to rename my schedule, Meal Schedule 2015 to 16. First, we're going to talk about a program that runs all year. So I'm going to leave the beginning and end date as just October 1st to September 30th. I'm also open Monday through Friday, so I'll leave those selected. I'm going to click Next to save that information. Now I'll go ahead and add meals. So I'm only going to add the meals that I'm going to claim through CACFP. To do that, I'm going to click Add, and I'll add one meal at a time. So I'll start with breakfast. And we have breakfast from 7 to 8 every morning. Here we have a drop-down box. If I purchase my breakfast from an off-site vendor, I would click on the box and select Off-site Vended. However, we prep our breakfast in-house, so I'm just going to keep it as on-site self. Now I'll click Save. And I'll click Add again to add my lunch. And these times are actually correct. And like I said, we prepare our lunches on site, so I'll keep that. Now I'll click Save. Finally, I'll add my afternoon snack, so I'll click Add. Select afternoon snack. And we actually serve these from 3 to 3:30. And again, we prepare it on site. Click Save. Okay. Now that I have my meal schedule completed and all the meals entered that we claim through CACFP, I'm going to click Save. Now let's look at a program that's closed during the summer. So that would be somebody who participates in the at-risk after-school meals program, maybe as a Head Start site or ECAP. So what we're going to do is create two schedules. So first I'm going to add, and I'm going to rename it Meal Schedule 2015 to 16. So I'll leave the begin date as October 1st, but I'm going to change the end date to the last day of school. So for me, that's June 15th. I'm open Monday through Friday, so I'll leave those selected. Okay, then I'll click Next. And I'll click Add to add the meal that I claim. So in this situation, I'm just claiming afternoon snack. And we prepare it on site, so I'm going to click Save. And now we've completed the schedule and the meals, so we're going to click Save. Now we're going to add another schedule for those meals that are served in September before we go through this renewal process again. So I'm going to click Add, and I'll rename the schedule September 2016. And I'm going to change the beginning date. I'm going to change the beginning date to the first day of school in September 2016. So for me, that's September 6th. And I'll keep the end date as September 30th because we'll create a new application and a new site calendar next year when we do renewals again. So I'll keep all of these days checked and click Next. Again, I'm going to add my afternoon snack, so I'll click Add. And I'll click Save. Now I'm going to save the schedule. Okay, now we have two schedules for a program that is closed during the summer. Now we can't forget about non-operating days. To get to them, I'm going to click on the Non-Operating Days tab. Here, I'll click Add to add my first non-operating day. A non-operating day is any day that a center is closed during a normal business week. So that will typically be holidays, possibly in-service days. So the first one that I have in this upcoming fiscal year is Veterans Day. So I'll type that in, and then I'll select the day. So this year it's on November 11th, and I'll click Save. Okay, now I'm going to add my next non-operating day. So I'll click Add. And my next non-operating day is actually Thanksgiving. But we take 3 consecutive days off, so I'm going to click Add Date Range. So the first day that we take off for Thanksgiving is going to be November 25th. And the last day we take off is that Friday, November 27th. Remember that Saturday and Sunday are not a normal operating day, so I don't need to include them in this section. I'm going to click Save. Now we can see that all 3 days were added to my non-operating days. Using the date range function within the non-operating days can be useful when you have multiple days off that are consecutive. Now to return to the site profile, I'm going to click Return to Site Profile. And to return to our main page, you can either click Home or your sponsor name over to this right side. Now I'm going to go to the sponsor profile and the current overview to see that all 4 parts of my application are in the created status. This is an easy way to see to get a quick overview of your application parts. So now we're going to go back through and submit each part of the application. First, I'm going to go to the Sites tab. And again, I'll click on the site. To get into the site calendar, I can either click the View button or the Edit button. The Edit button will let me make changes to the site calendar. Once I've reviewed that, I can go to the site application and do the same thing, either click View or Edit. Once I've reviewed all of my information and I'm ready to submit, I can click the Submit button. At the site level, you can see that I can submit both the site application and the site calendar at the same time. Since I've reviewed both of them and they're ready for submission, I'm going to click Submit to OSPI. Now I'm going to go back home or click my sponsor name. And I'm going to go submit my budget. So I'll click on the Budgets tab. Here I can either click View or Edit. I'm going to go in and edit. And once I've reviewed all of the numbers, I can go ahead and click Save and Submit to OSPI. And the last part is the sponsor application. So I'm going to go to the Applications tab. Here I can go in and view or edit to make sure that everything is correct. Once it's correct, I'll go ahead and click Submit. Okay, now I can go back to that sponsor profile page. And in this current overview look, I can see that all parts of my application are submitted. Ignore this management plan. I have had some technical difficulties, and single site sponsors do not need to complete a management plan. Be sure to submit each part of the application at the same time, so we can review all parts of the application at the same time and give you feedback. All parts are due October 1st, 2015. And remember that when the application parts are in the submitted status, like we just saw on the last screen, you cannot go in and modify the application. If there's something that you need to modify, contact your program specialist and she will help you do that. Also remember that study month numbers will be required when submitting October's claim. So that won't be until the beginning of November. Do not wait until the study month is completed to renew your application. Because remember, the application is due October 1st. If you're stuck on a part of the application or you still have some questions, be sure to contact your program specialist. I pointed out that easy link to email your specialist from the WINS homepage, so that's one option. Or you can go to the CACFP website to find our emails and phone numbers off to the right side. I also pointed out the WINS training videos from our website, so be sure to reference those if you have questions. They can be helpful for navigating WINS and adding or deleting users. There will also be another video posted for sponsors with multiple sites that covers the management plan and the optional shared calendar. But this concludes our application renewal training. Thank you for watching.